Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining this conference call. We are glad to welcome you all to discuss Bandhan Bank's business and financial performance for the quarter ending June 2020. As this was a different time period along with COVID-19, we will also take the opportunity to update on the recent development in the industry and Bandhan Bank during this quarter. To discuss all this in detail, I've got with me our founder, managing director and CEO, Mr. Chandra Shekhar Ghosh, our executive director designate, Mr. Sudhin Choksi, our chief financial officer, Mr. Sunil Samdani, and myself, Hiren Shah, head of investor relations. Now I'd like to request our founder, MD and CEO, Mr. Chandra Shekhar Ghosh, to brief you all about the financial performance of the company and development during the quarter. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Hiren. Good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to all of you. We know that the time is not very much the good, but gradually it is coming to improve. This is the first quarter of the full COVID. 2 months totally lockdown, 1 month only open the lockdown, and partially till now continuing as a containment zone lockdown. Also, this is the way, we also find out on that the 1.5 week in the last month have the big flood has come in Assam and the Bihar. And we also know that Amphan in the Bengal. And all together, if it is a very challenging time for all of us, is a life and livelihood. But after that also again proved by small traders, small businessmen or women who are taking loan from us in advance, their collection efficiency has come in June 30. Up to June 30 is in microcredit 68%. If I come to this total collection efficiency, it has come 76% of the bank. But if today the microcredit collection efficiency 73% plus, day by day it is increasing. So it is very important for all of us, so that I have been mentioned this point. Though the economy is not that much the normal situation, and we know that everyone is in fear about the COVID. But within that period, which I mentioned, the challenges of this quarter, our bank have been performed a very good business in the good portfolio profit in this quarter. If I go to the quarter-on-quarter basis profit, yes, it is increased. But if I say that the year-on-year basis, no, it is not that much. Because of, we are again extra provision done as a 750 crores, which is for only the COVID expected the provision. So altogether 1,750 crores total COVID provision in the bank. And after that, also our profit has come in this quarter 550 crores. Next is coming to the advance. That is, I am not like to again repeat on that the last quarter situation. You already know that. But after that also, the advance growth has come year-on-year basis 17.68% and quarter-on-quarter basis 3.46%. But very interestingly, my microcredit portfolio as a ratio of total portfolio of the bank and 61% as a microcredit portfolio. And gross NPA 1.43%, which is the last quarter it was in a 1.48%. Net NPA 0.48%, which was in the last quarter 0.58%. Very little bit has been reduced the NPA. I'm not like to focusing on that. So very good focusing on that. within that challenging period, my deposit have been reached 60,610 crores, which is a 35.3% as in year-on-year growth, and 6.18% is a quarter-on-quarter growth. And a very fantastic performance has given my team as a bank. My CASA percentage has come 37.08% in this quarter, reached on that, and which was the last quarter 36.84%, and last June it was in a 34.06%. So it has been very good achievement I've done. You know that very special one of the challenge banking industry faced in the last quarter. I'm not like to mention that point. After that also, the bank retail deposit has continued 78%, 77.69%, which was in the last quarter 78.43%. All these parameters of the deposit growth, CASA percentage, retail percentage are in a similar way, little bit better way on that. But my last is the microcredit, the deposit percentage, it remain on that at the 5% as of the June 30th. I'm coming to the other, some of the ratio, you maybe try to understand on that. My total, before that I will say that the total bank, the book size has come 1,34,941 crores, which was in a last quarter is a 1,28,928 crores. The bank have been reached and gradually step by step going to the big book as a AUM. Our NIM is a 8.15%, which was in the last quarter 8.13%. It is higher than the last quarter. Cost to income ratio, it has decreased. Last quarter, it was in a 30.25%. This quarter, it has come 27.94%. But if we compare in the last year, first quarter, June 19, it was in a 28.89%, which is now come 27.94%. That again reduced on that. CASA percentage 4.94%, and savings account balance percentage 32.14%. Our capital adequacy ratio maintaining on that at the 27.29%. So all of these, the parameters I have been presented to you. I have been give the thank you my first borrower, where they are people are running their business and coming forward to repay their installment happily. So this is a very good thing for us. And day by day, we hope that we can be like to reach to normalize in this way. It will be by September in 2020. So that is my expectation and strong expectation on that. And the second, thank you my team who are in this moment. They are driving the business and the collection, especially on that, and they are achieved on that. And out of this all together, I can say that the total of the bank, 38 of my colleagues are affected with the COVID, and all are safe. 50% of these people already been joined in the work, and some 50% they are in a good position, but they are home quarantine position on that. So this is the total, the bank position. So that I mentioned on that our total of the employee 41,563, which was in a 39,750 in the last quarter. Banking outlet in a Spain 4,559, and customer has come to the more than 2 crores, and borrower is a more than 1 crores. So I like to close in here. You have the question. Will be like to share all of this answer on my experience. So thank you to all of you. Please.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Mahrukh Adajania from Elara Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello, sir. My first question was on the moratorium. You've given details on collection efficiency. So, do your numbers capture the impact of the cyclone and the floods?
Yes. So what we are saying, when we say collection efficiency, it means that of the total customers, what proportion of customers have paid, right? So that includes all customers, including the customers under the cyclone belt as well. So this number considers all COVID, cyclone, flood, everything considering this is the collection numbers that we are seeing.
Sorry, and you expect this to stay stable or improve, right? You don't expect it to go up as we approach end August. Is that a fair view?
I mean, improve is August. Improve means it is likely to go up, collection numbers, right? So steadily we are seeing the numbers increasing. The key point is the unlocking that has happened. Our experience and our learning from the month of June is, moratorium is less of an impact. The larger issue is if the customers are able to do their business on the ground, the collections will steadily improve. So if we don't see any further lockdowns or infection rising in a big way, we see these numbers improving.
So I can add another point on that. This type of customer, they are very much involved with their livelihood, and I have been also talked earlier. Only depend on that if they can be movement, and our staff can be movement to the customer house, and customer can be moved to our office. That if it will be only happen if the lockdown is open. So that has been happen, that opportunities to collection efficiency can be increased on that. As of today, there is not in a full lockdown, but some part is a lockdown, very temporarily, maybe 7 days or 15 days. So that will be open. Maybe another area it will be like to install on that. For that way, we are seeing on that the people are movement is coming and go, and the lockdown is not big way is coming and not affecting. So that we are expecting on that this collection efficiency will be day by day increase, and it will be increasing by September is a normal position.
Okay, so sir, my second question was on your savings account. You traditionally also done very well on savings deposits, but even this quarter the growth has been exceptionally strong. So any key drivers that you would like to highlight?
In this quarter, particularly in June, what we have seen that our deposit growth has come on both the counts. Our new customer acquisition in June has surpassed the pre-COVID levels, right? So on the deposit side, our acquisition rate continues to grow strong, as well as the existing customer balance we've seen an improvement. And that's why we see the savings account, particularly this quarter, improving.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Karthik Chellappa from Bruna Vista Fund Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity, and congrats on a very good collection ratio. I have 3 questions. Firstly, Mr. Ghosh in his opening comment said that as of now the microfinance business collection efficiency is around 73%. Could you give me some color on which is the state with the lowest collection efficiency and the state with the highest?
Okay. It depend on, no. If you see that my collection efficiency highest in Bihar, And if we go to this Assam, that is also very good. It is 61%. Once upon a time, Assam was a 66%. It has come down because of the flood has come. After that, it has been decreased. Again, it is coming to increase on that.
If you talk about the highest percentage, it's Andhra and Telangana, but that portfolio is very small, followed by Bihar. These are the top two states. And on the lower side, it will be Maharashtra, followed by Tamil Nadu, because Tamil Nadu last month we had a lockdown for last 20 days.
And Maharashtra would be what in terms of collection ratios as of now?
Maharashtra will be close to 45 to 50%, I guess.
Okay, we'll be give it.
50%. Sorry, is it about 50%? If I heard it right?
Yes. Maharashtra is about 54%.
54%. Okay, excellent. My second question is, if we look at the June disbursements for microfinance, it was about 3,100 odd crores. What percent of the disbursements would have been to existing customers?
We've given that in our presentation. If you go if you visit our presentation on slide number 8, of the total disbursement, that we have done, there are two things here. One is, the new customer acquisition in microfinance for this quarter is about 100,000, or little less than 100,000. And in terms of existing customers getting new loans, 5% of our existing customers got additional loan from us during this quarter.
Oh, because that 5% is actually number of existing customers, right? Which is somewhere close to, let's say, 500 to 600,000. I just want to know what is it in value terms?
That number just...
Oh, okay, not a problem. I can get it offline later. So not a problem.
Yes.
My third question is, what percentage of the gold loans disbursed this quarter is to existing microfinance customers?
Existing microcredit customer, how many people are getting the gold loan? We are not in that information.
But that will be a very small.
Very small, because our branch is a very different area and microcredit borrowers also different. We are not have that information in the hand.
Okay, the reason I asked that question is because the other retail loans have actually gone up 60% year on year. And in slide 7, you say that the growth is largely contributed by gold loans. So that's why I was curious to understand whether you are actually selling gold loans, disbursing gold loans to existing micro borrowers as an individual loan also.
No, not really. In fact, we have increased our distribution in the gold loan over last 1 year. We used to be less than 100, about 70, 75 branches a year back. Currently, we are doing that business in almost 500 plus branches.
Okay, got it. Okay, wish you and the team all the very best. I'll come back in the queue for more questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Antariksha Banerjee from ICICI Prudential Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah. You hear me?
Yes, please.
Yeah. First question is actually extending what Karthik was asking. So on these existing customers that you have given fresh disbursements to, these 5% of customers, this will be comparable over from 45,000-50,000 or will be much low?
Average the disbursement is below 50,000.
So overall disbursement is 45,000. The top-up loan, the average disbursement will be in the range of 35,000.
So below 50,000.
More general.
Sorry, we can't hear you.
Mr. Banerjee, can you move to a better reception area, please? Your voice is not...
Is it better?
Please go ahead.
Is it better?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
So these existing customers that you have given a loan to this time, is it a normal cycle loan that is getting restarted?
So sorry to interrupt, but we are losing your audio in between, sir.
Okay. I'll come back in the queue then.
Oh, sure, sir. Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nishan Shah from Macquarie. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Yeah, perfect. No, so I had a question on the same thing. So if I just look at the last quarter around in the transcript, I think sir had mentioned that roughly around 36 or 46% of their existing customers have been given new loans to start new businesses. And this time around we're saying it's roughly around 5%. I think sir also mentioned a number close to 30% in that Sadhan webinar with Mohammed Yunus. So just wanted to clarify, what is the exact number? Is it 5 or closer to 35? Or like where is the understanding gap between last quarter and this quarter?
No, what we are saying here is opportunity to increase the sole percentage ratio, right? If you see, till 3 years back, our sole lending percentage was 70%, which came down to 50%. That's because the competition used to give top-up to our customers. Now that in today's environment, the competition largely NBFC, MFI, they have to manage the liability side as well. We think, and they are not lending today. So we think there is an opportunity to get back that wallet share of the customers and improve that sole percentage rate. So this percentage that you are talking about, 35%, that we expect that 30 to 35% of these customers who currently have additional loan apart from Bandhan, they would come back to Bandhan as we offer them additional loan and increase the sole proportion number and make them as a sole banker for Bandhan and move them into an individual loan category. So I think that's where the two issues seems to have got mixed.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, last quarter's transcript was a little confusing. Okay, so that's it on the first question. The second question on this collection efficiency. So you've given the daily collection efficiency, which is now at around 73 odd %. My question is, how does the accounting work in this kind of environment? For example, in June, in the first few weeks, it was roughly around 25 odd %. So 75% did not get collected. Right. So now when the EMIs become due, you are going to first adjust it against the dues of the oldest EMI tenure. And it'll be a rolling kind of a basis. So even if customers come back to 100%, there will still be a backlog that needs to be cleared. But from an accounting perspective, how will this look? Because what will end up happening, if I am correct, is that as the new collections get adjusted against the old dues, if there is to be any NPL recognition, it will get delayed by quite a bit, right? It will probably not happen for quite some time, probably beyond 3Q as well. Is that understanding correct, or can you please correct me if my understanding is wrong on the accounting part?
When the moratorium is granted to the customer, in our case, in microfinance, it is on an opt-out basis, so which means by default all customers are under moratorium. And if any customer wishes to pay, we will accept their installment and we'll assume that for that installment they don't need moratorium. Right? So the moment you give moratorium, the loan tenure gets extended, which means these installments don't become due on these 3 months. If let's say a customer has taken moratorium for 3 months, these installment itself don't become due. These becomes due at the end of the tenure. Right? So let's say tomorrow the moratorium ends in August, and starting 1st September, the customer also starts paying. The customer will be treated as a regular zero DPD customer because nothing was any which way due till August.
Okay. So at the point at which he starts repaying or your collection starts restarting, the principal is adjusted upwards. Is that right? to account for the interest on the dues which were not collected.
Yeah, so the installment itself doesn't become due, right?
Okay. Okay, I got this. And the last couple of questions, like very small questions, these are just data points. Could you now share what is the split of your AUM by red, orange, green, or containment, non-containment? And basically, I'm trying to understand where you can freely collect versus where you cannot collect.
Okay. I give this a very broad sense on that. I'm coming to this, my microcredit portfolio. 70%, 75% of the portfolio in West Bengal, Assam and Tripura, Bihar. These 4 states. These are the core states of us. And these 4 states now confirmed case 6.4% of the national total. So that means my core portfolio, 75% is a very less number of cases as a COVID. So that a people movement is not in a containment in that much effect on us.
Okay. That's fine. And just one last data point. In the SME portfolio, could you split it between secured and unsecured? Because if I remember, the SEL portfolio erstwhile was merged with SME some time back. So could you just give the split between secured and unsecured?
So SEL remains unsecured, which is about 2,000 crores.
This is 2,000 crores.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's it for me. I have more, but I'll come back in the queue.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. The next question is from the line of Kunal Shah from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks for taking my question. So now looking at this kind of a collection efficiency, the trend which has been there, okay, till July, what we have disclosed. Now, what would be the kind of additional provisioning buffer which we would continue to build? So maybe last time also we highlighted that we could continue at more than 1%. But do we anticipate for next 2 more quarters we would be doing it based on the trend?
So, we had always, in our last interaction, we had said that in this financial year, if the collection efficiency moves as we have planned, which till date it is moving, we would look at additional credit cost of about 2 to 2.2%, right? So of that, we have already taken 50% of it. So what remains now is the normal credit cost, which anyway would have happened, which we typically guide of 1 to 1.25%.
Yeah, so maybe that would be like more amortized over the quarter. So there would be no contingency kind of a thing which could come in. Largely, if things remain the way it is.
Yeah, so if things move the way it is moving, so that's how it will be. We'll take a detailed call in the month of September as to where we stand on that. Sure.
And maybe any trends? So today, when we look at it, we are saying that maybe 73 odd % is the collection efficiency. So this would be only for the last week, or are there the customers who would have come and they would have repaid even the 3 months installments, or maybe they would have repaid the entire 1 month, even though they are just coming in the last 1 week? So no doubt it's an improving trend from say 25 to 70, but any proportion of customers who would have made more than the required installments in a particular week?
See, that customer will always be there. There will be few set of customers who would pay more than 1 installment, but that will be the case in the previous week as well, right? So we are looking at like-to-like basis. And secondly, even if you look at the number of customers, on the number of customers side also, we are looking at 67-68% of customers in the month of June paying.
Yeah. No, so maybe they are paying, but would it be like I'm seeing more visibility in terms of my business operations, and I don't want to make just a week payment or a fortnight payment, but I'll meet all the dues which are there over last 2-3 months. Maybe earlier I was not able to pay in April and May, but now I'm comfortable. So are there any sort of customers, or they are just making the payment which is due for that particular week?
So this is as per the previous my practice. When any crisis has come, that time people are like to keep the money in their hand as a reserve. And whatever the regular installment is needed, that will be paid. And second type of customer, where the loan is being going to close, they will need to the next loan. That time they are coming to pay the earlier all installment, otherwise they cannot get the loan. So they are coming on that. So this is a way on that. This is a time very, not a very normal position. So people keep little bit reserve in the hand. And so that is a better, the large number of customers are given the single installment way on that.
Okay, surely. And in terms of the OPEX, so when I look at it apart from employee, so the other operating expenses up year on year, no doubt there would have been expansion in last 12 months. But given such a low business activity, still the other OPEX is up. So should we say that we have more or less bottomed out in terms of OPEX, or still there is a scope and we can bring down the cost?
No, I think this is the bottom, OPEX to asset ratio, given the doorstep collection and the people intensive business. I think we are right there among the industry with the corporate exposure as well. So we don't see any further reduction in the OPEX percentage per se.
Okay. And no scope in terms of bringing down some of the expenses as well.
So we've already reduced. How much? This quarter, we whatever was possible, we've already reduced the.
Okay, got it. And on a housing, so that's where the moratorium actually number has gone up. Okay, so maybe from 13% to 15%, as well as within the GNPLs, if I look at it, the mortgage GNPLs, there is the addition which has happened out there. So how should we read into this? Maybe across all the portfolios, this is the one wherein there is some deterioration both on asset quality as well as moratorium going up.
Mr. Choksi?
Yes.
Yes.
In the month, as regards the collection efficiency, you are looking at the figure of April versus June. April it was around 87%, and which came down to 85% in the month of June. Many of our customers are on ECS and NACH. So in the month of April, the ECS had passed through, and therefore, obviously, the efficiency was better. And the customers who would have opted for the moratorium, they didn't pay for the month of June. So I think that marginal decline is on account of that. Your observation as regards the increase in the NPA has been there. That has marginally gone up, especially on our mortgage loans and loan against property. I think that is where the NPAs have slightly increased during this quarter.
Okay, but they would have not taken moratorium, and that's the reason they are getting slipped.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And one last question in terms of what was PSLC income this quarter, and how much would it be for the annual?
So PSLC for this quarter, we did for the full year, our PSLC income was just a second. For 474 crores is the PSLC income we've done during the quarter, as against the full year income of 453 crores. And our policy of accounting PSLC is we amortize it over the 4 quarters. So accordingly,
so this quarter it would be 1.1, 1.2.
It is 1 crore 19 lakhs. 119 crores. Sorry, 119 crores.
Okay, got it. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of NB Mahesh from Kotak. Please go ahead.
Good evening. I have two questions from my side. How do you define collection efficiency in the organization?
So we look at total customers. So assuming if no moratorium was offered, this was business as usual scenario, what would have been the total demand? And against that, what is it that we have collected?
Okay. Sunil, just one question. If in the past, I think Mr. Ghosh has alluded as well, is that many customers have also the option to prepay a loan or make extra installments, extra payments against the installment. Would that also be included when you're looking at collection efficiency?
So loan closure will not include, but if let's say a customer has paid 2 installments instead of 1, that will form part of it.
It will form part. Okay. Is there any significance of that number when you're calculating a collection efficiency in this, let's say in the last 2 months?
The best way to look at is number of customers paying, right? So number of customers paying for us is also around 68%.
Perfect. Okay, that's very useful. So just one clarification: the billings, the numerator will have any payment which the customer makes, whether it's cash payment, prepayments, anything which you get in a month, divided by the total billings for that specific month.
No, numerator will not include loan closure, but it will include the prepayment.
Perfect. The second question to Mr. Choksey, if you could just tell us, is the situation on the ground on the mortgage book reached a point where you are now comfortable in looking at giving a credit cost number?
Credit cost in terms of the NPAs I can share with you. I think our NPAs are around 1.37% as on 30th June. Which was around 1.3% of the outstanding loan portfolio. So it has gone up from 1.30 to 1.37.
That's right. Just wanted to understand, have you reached, do you think with this collection efficiency, have you reached a stage where it's moving closer to normalization, or do you think you would have to reach to, let's say, 90-95% on a consistent basis before you can say that, look, the portfolio has stabilized from that perspective?
I think that is correct. You will have to wait and see the consistency. When our collection efficiencies goes up almost beyond 90% consistently, then probably we'll be able to, get a confidence that the number should remain steady on that count.
Perfect. And my final question to Mr. Ghosh, sir, it's a standard question, just finishing it off. Has there been any progress on the promoter stake? Thanks.
My repeat of this answer, yes, we are given the very important on this, but it is not the time today to say about.
Perfect. Just wanted to because there's just trying to see if there's been any development this quarter.
If you see that many of things are happening now, I cannot be like to mention that point, which is the new paper has come from the regulator. So we'll be like to see that because now we have been very much important on that the collection efficiency increase and provide the credit people livelihood can be increased, and this is a very important for us now.
Absolutely, this is useful. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Saurav from JP Morgan. Please go ahead.
So just one question. Of this macroprudential provision you have, how much of that will relate to the microfinance business?
So about, I would say, 70 to 75% of this will go towards micro.
So of the 1,700 crores or X the standard assets of the 1,475, or should I take 1,700 into 75?
See, the estimate that the stress tests that we have done and the way we have estimated the ultimate loss, given the current scenario and the collection efficiency across all verticals, right? Basis that we believe that whatever is the ultimate loss, 75% will be contributed by micro.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Eric Chan from Bruna Vista Fund Management. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Gosh. I want to just clarify 2 points. You mentioned that under the current trend, you're expecting by September. Can you give me a bit more color on how the CBA's normalizing of activities in terms of holding circle meetings and making or taking applications for new loans, so that I can understand how the asset growth and disbursement trend going forward. And if that was to normalize, would the extra CBA or the DSP that we previously hired still be maintained post the normalization?
So, if we talk about the disbursement trends, and if we look at micro banking to start with, micro banking for us, there are 2 important factors. One is the seasonality factor. So historically, we've seen that Q1 and Q2 has been a muted quarter for us in terms of disbursement, and bulk of the growth comes in Q3 and largely in Q4. Here again, what we are seeing this time, the growth typically is a factor of existing customers and the new customers. Historically, we've grown at 30% plus year on year in micro banking. If you break up that growth, about 10% of the growth comes from the new customer and the rest is from the existing customer. So clearly the new customer acquisition rate will slow down in this financial year till the situation and the infection comes under control. But the existing customers, once we have, where we have the track record and they have started their business, we see there as an opportunity to increase our book and consolidate the debt of the existing customers. So that's how we look at the growth side of the story. Your next question was, if I'm not mistaken, your next question was on the provisioning side or on the loss calculation side. If you can repeat that question.
No, sorry. The second part of the first question was about the extra field office that we hire. We hire one extra field officer to handle the door-to-door collections during the lockdown period. And we go towards September when you're expecting normalization. Should we expect that field officer per rural branch to be maintained or to go back to the previous ratio?
See, there are 3 things. Today we've added extra field officers because we are not having a full-fledged group meeting, and it's more of a smaller group and door-to-door collection. So these field officers will eventually get utilized in 2 ways. One is typically we have 8 to 9% attrition. So as the attrition happens, these customers can, these additional staff can be used as a replacement. And 2 is for the expansion. Once the situation normalizes, typically we expand our network by almost 8 to 10% every year. So once we start new branches, we will have a ready staff available with experience to be posted in the new branch to start that business. So that's the medium term outlook on utilization of these additional staff.
Thank you. Last question. Given the higher, at least in the short term, higher lending risk profile in general for both the housing as well as the microfinance business, is there any change in lending practice, lending terms compared to pre-COVID?
No, the model both on the micro banking side and the housing side are very well time-tested models. These models have gone through many challenges historically. So the core model remains the same. Tactically, what we've done till the time there is infection around, instead of a larger group meeting, we have broken the group into a smaller group, and the focus is more on door-to-door collection. But on the whole, the model remains the same. Once the situation normalizes, we intend to go back to the same model.
Got it. So no change in terms, no change in lending rates to those customers.
So to the old customers, the current loan that we are disbursing, the additional loans, there we are charging 1% higher, from 17.85 to 18.85.
1% higher. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. I'll go back to the queue.
The next question is from the line of Adarsh from CLSA. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. One question I wanted to ask microfinance business players. We've always calculated affordability of the product, right, from an angle of household income. A lot of these families would have like migratory, one of the family member, maybe the male member working out, and that part of the income would have got impacted, right, in a fair number of cases. So we want to understand, do you have any sense of how that is saving and eating into, say, when we have in the past quantified a household income of say 25 or 30,000? Can you get some sense of even in approximate sense of how the labor migration could have impacted this household income?
First point from that, the microcredit, we are not lending to the borrower who have not any enterprise. We are not given the startup even also. So for that region, who are running the business, we are lending to them. Yes, which is as per my knowledge, our borrowers, the husband is, when the income is increased, you say that our study last time also we are explained that 48 rupees income of the family, they are multiple income. And if earlier some of the few borrowers' family has worked in outside of India, outside of Bengal or state, so they are now returned back in the time of that when they seen that their wife is running very good business and they have started another business in the same family. So that time they are returning back on that. But as of now, I have not any that much of the people who are migrated to others and coming back on that. Sometimes happened it is in seasonal level. Some of the harvesting of the time of the harvesting of the paddy, that time will go for a month, for a 15 days and return back. So this type of is some of the borrowers are there, but not in a permanent. We have not seen in that types of husband as a migrant level in our borrower category.
Right. And one more question on the housing mortgage moratorium, Josephine. Sir, again, coming back to the same thing, our moratorium is about 15%. Now the only thing is that where it was 13 in April and 15 now, the general expectation would have been that the number of people under moratorium 2 would be lower than moratorium 1, simply because some people may have chosen moratorium 1 out of fear. It was just a way to conserve cash, right? And usually most companies, right, that we interact with are kind of indicating that moratorium 2, which is you'll have to choose opt for moratorium 2, that proportion of borrowers are probably coming down. So why wouldn't we have seen that kind of a change in our customer base also, right? Like why has the 15 remained constant?
I think, as I explained to you earlier, and as Sunil also explained on the collection efficiency, the way the bank has been calculating, these are in respect of the money which we collect and we receive from the customers. Now, the number of moratorium opted by the customer, obviously for the phase 2, has been lower than the phase 1. In the month of April, as I mentioned to you, a large number of our customers, almost 80 to 85% of the customers are on ECS. So their ECS on April had already passed through, and obviously, therefore, there was no question of refunding or, giving a moratorium on that. But once the, moratorium period progressed, obviously, the month of May, this money, we didn't get it. And in the month of June, therefore, the figure has slightly come down. But the number of customers opting for a moratorium under phase 2 are certainly 20% at least lower than the phase 1.
So you're saying basically don't look at April. We would have had a higher number than the 13% in May, and after that the number has dropped to 15% broadly.
That is correct.
Okay, got it. So thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Deepak Gupta from Reliance Nippon Life Insurance. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. I just wanted one clarification. When we, what would be the collection efficiency? What would be the collection efficiency for the bank if one considers that the customer has cleared all its outstandings as of 30th of June?
So that scenario, is very difficult. We've not calculated that, and two, in our system also, once you give moratorium, then the due itself gets, postponed at the end of the tenure, right? So the best way to look at is to look at customers who were assuming if there was no moratorium, what would have been the demand, and against that, what has been the collection. What is also important here in the collection efficiency is to understand the behavior of customers. Are there customers who are paying, let's say, who paid the first installment in the first week of June? What percentage of those customers have continued to pay till the end of June? The answer is 99%. Right? So once the customer has started paying installments, 99% of them have continued paying installments, all 4 installments.
Right.
This type of customer actually is a behavioral credit. If their behavior has come as a regularized, so automatically all our previous due, they are automatically paid to us.
So I understand that, sir, but if the customer has paid all installments in the month of June, you will be adjusting those installments against its outstanding for the month of March of Feb. Am I correct in my understanding?
See, the customers, what we are saying is the month of March and April, March from starting 21st of March. So April and May, since there was a moratorium, that due itself has been postponed till the end of tenure. So nothing was due in April and May. So there is no question of adjusting it against the April and May installment.
Understand. Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rahul Jain from Lion Rock Capital. Please go ahead.
So hi, am I audible?
Yes, very good.
Yeah. A couple of questions. One is within the MFI space, you mentioned about 22 billion rupees of loans on individual basis. So can you clarify what essentially are these loans? Is it something which you have started recently, or it has been always there?
No, it has been started in a little bit 1 year before, and piloted, and now it has been coming on that to normalize. So that earlier I have been maybe explained on that, but again I say that 58 lakhs of my microcredit borrower, which is 51% of the total borrower, have the 4 years and above. That means up to 20 years their age. 16 lakhs borrowers who are 14% of the total, 1 lakh to 1,50,000 rupees loan, and 40 lakhs borrowers who are 35% of the total borrowers, 50,000 to 1 lakh rupees loan. So you see that there is another data is there. 50% of the borrowers have a single loan only from Bandhan. So we feel that there is opportunities. These customers, long term with us, they are growing very good as a business, multiple business. We'll be like to promote them as a MSME. So that in the sole will be provided. We'll be like to consolidate it on that. No, maybe they have that 30% of our borrowers have that another one loan from others entity. So if we like to consolidate it all on that, so whatever they have a need in the money, in the purpose of housing, in the purpose of business, we'll be like to provide, and they will be very specially will be take care on them. Individual assess their credit, and individually will be like to take care. That is not in a group lending. This is not in a weekly collection, monthly collection, and customer will come to the office to repay. And that is the plan we have been taken. And 1 year before pilot, and the last 6 months we are started on that in a good way. That is the amount has come in the 2,200 crores on that.
And the terms of these loans, like because they are individual loans, so they are obviously not required to go for weekly meetings.
Yes.
So would they be paying every week or every month?
No, I mentioned it on that. It is an individually assessed. It will be not assessed by the microcredit branch head. It will be area managers above the one level and separate person, and assessment of this customer separate person, separate way. And she has not need to go to the group meeting. She is not a weekly installment, it's a monthly installment, and customer will come to office to repay, not we are going to customer house to collect. These are just something of the feature of this product.
Okay. And the second question was about buying a portfolio through IBPC on the mortgage side. So what's the driver behind this? And I mean, would on our own, would we be looking at going on with the disbursement on a normalized basis within the housing finance portfolio, or at this point of time the entire focus is only on collections and disbursements are still going to be quite low for some time?
See, the portfolio buyout that under IBPC that we did, it's more of a liquidity management exercise, because we are issuers of IBPC, because as we have a lot of priority sector loans, right? So we issue it at a local rate, and to deploy that money, because reverse repo today has come down substantially. So if we can match a tenor and deploy and buy a non-PSL loans against that, we can make a decent spread. Right? So this is more of a money market exercise to earn that extra spread. So between selling and buying, we make a spread of 100 basis points plus.
Okay. And with respect to normalized disbursement on a regular basis, like are we increasing disbursements on a regular basis, or disbursements are likely to be subdued for now?
Disbursement and housing.
In housing finance, in mortgage.
Yeah. Disbursement have been on a gradual increase. I think, in the month of June, the disbursements were almost to the 77% of our pre-COVID level. I think in February we had disbursed around close to 300 crore. And I think we have been able to do around, in month of June, around 240 crore we have done it.
Okay. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mihir Ajmera from Enam Holdings. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Just had a question, like, what's your strategy in bringing the promoter holding down to 40%?
I mean, we've discussed this question many times. Ideally, if we have an opportunity, we would want to merge the holding company with the bank, because that kind of solves the problem immediately. So we would await clarifications from RBI on the committee that they have formed, which is likely to issue the paper for discussion by 30th September. So if we see an opportunity there, we would accordingly request RBI.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification. And lastly, just on the moratorium number, it's around 24% for the bank. That would be like 100 minus the 76%, which is the collection efficiency.
So the moratorium could be different. What we are saying is because the moratorium is on an opt-out basis, right, and not the customer opting for it, the better way to look at moratorium is the customers who have not paid to be considered as moratorium.
Okay.
Right. So since 76% have paid, 84% becomes the moratorium.
Understood. Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you.
The next question is from the line of Jay Mundra. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Good evening. Sir, if you can comment on maybe the early signs of any political interference in the collection in maybe select district of select states such as Punjab, Maharashtra?
We have not seen in this situation in this time, and this is more on that if you see that the central government and all are happy to disburse the money to people. So if it is not collection, disbursement also not happen. So that this is a very different behavior. We are seeing that very good positive behavior and all public community people and the political people.
Good, sir. And sir, if you can talk about any implication on Bandhan Bank from the upcoming state election, maybe in the state of Bihar and West Bengal, how do you, could that, I mean, what could it imply going ahead? Your thoughts?
I many times given this answer, I have been like to say this answer on that. The people are running the livelihood program. They have need the money. They are continue the relationship in any circumstances with us. I seen that in the state which you mentioned, every year I face the election. That is an central election, assembly election, and Paul Shobha election, Panchayat election. Every year is a one election. So my customer also habituate on that. And very good thing on that level of the customer, and they are very much focused on their livelihood. So that it is again proved on that. It's in 2 months totally lockdown. When it is open, again started the repayment. They are not like to say that no, I cannot give. They are only say that give the open the lockdown. When that open the lockdown, you see that now 73% collection has come. So that is a very big way I feel at my previous experience. Election maybe will come and the government will be like to continue or change. That is another part, but that will be not impact to this customer level.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nishan Shah from Macquarie. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Just like follow-ups, which are more like clarificatory in nature. So on the collection efficiency, in one of the previous answers, you described it as any collections received from customer except for loan closure divided by the billings for that month. Right. So if a customer is under moratorium, will his dues be considered as billings for the month in the denominator, or is the 72% calculated without including those?
No. So all customers, whether moratorium or not, will form part of denominator.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's one. And secondly, on active loans, so when you say about 5% of people have received loans for new businesses, this is 5% of the active customers, right? Of 11.2 million.
Yes.
So roughly around 5,60,000, and you mentioned that the average ticket size is around 35,000 rupees. So roughly around 2,000 crores is what has been disbursed.
No, that is for top-up loan. The overall average ticket size is 46,500 and just I'll give you the exact number.
No, I mean only for the 5% or the loans given to the 5% customers.
So that will include the customers who have closed their loan and taken a fresh loan, as well as customers who have not closed the loan but have also taken the additional loan.
Sorry. Could you come again? I didn't get that.
I can explain on that. You see that the last March, about the 21st of the March, suddenly, and you know that every year, the last month and last month of the year and the last couple of days in the good disbursement happen. Who are closed the loan in the last 10 days before in the March, they are waiting to take the loan because of the lockdown, not taken the loan. So they are also taking the loan in this time when this lockdown open, because if our business is running, we will come forth, we are giving the loan. And other than this also, we have the top-up loan, because earlier I mentioned one point, if you recall, that is in our 50% of the customers single loan from Bandhan, and another 1% customer who have another single loan taken, another loan taken from others along with the Bandhan. So because we are not given the double loan, so if then we have been started the double loan called the top-up loan. So that is an average, the size is a 25 or 30,000 on that. So that people also taken the loan in this time. So that amount is in average has come 30,000. But if you go to this, who are closed the loan in March, even the time of June, and business is running and good borrower, I cannot say no. So there is not in a 30,000. So that total average is coming. That is in 46,552 rupees.
Okay, understood. So basically there are two types of loans that you have given. One is a top-up loan with an average ticket size of 35,000. What is the proportion of your existing customers that have received this top-up loan?
Top-up loan, all are existing customers.
Yeah, but then not all of them would have taken, right? So there would have been some certain percentage would have taken.
That data is not in my hand now. Oh, I'll be in touch with you and.
Sorry? Even a rough ballpark is fine. Like what, roughly 10%, 20%, 30%, like.
No, all put together is 5%. We'll have to see within that what proportion is.
Okay. So top-up loans plus new business loans, both combined are only 5% of existing customers.
Correct.
Okay. So, fair enough. That clarifies it. So roughly around 2,000 crores is the disbursement in for these customers combined. Average ticket size of roughly 35 multiplied by 5,60,000 customers. Is that the fair understanding?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. That clears it. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhishek Murarka from IIFL. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir. So, couple of questions. Sir, one, are any borrowers paying anything more than their equal weekly or monthly installments? Is anybody paying in excess of that?
There will be few borrowers who are paying more than their current demand. Current demand is that week's installment.
Okay, but okay. And in this case, unlike any of the previous events, basically there won't be any concept of arrears, because anything in arrear is presumed to be under moratorium and added to the end of the tenure. So when the moratorium lifts, you just have to collect from the 0 to 90 as of 29th February. And if the moratorium is, let's say, or rather if the collection efficiency is, let's say, 90%, so on the remaining 10%, their clock starts from 1st of September.
Absolutely.
Right? So basically that will be the portion which could eventually become NPA by September end or December end. That's what it's going to be like, right?
Yes.
Okay. And just a sort of conceptual question. So you said that a lot of people started new businesses and took loans for that. But I'm just trying to think, during lockdown and during a period where in general, lenders are tightening credit to any new borrowers, what kind of businesses or customers have actually started new businesses? What kind of customers have started new businesses?
If I give the point, it can be try to understand and that what types of borrower we have. Our agriculture and allied activities is a 44.4%. If I say that some of the people are now again cultivating because the production has come good, so that is maybe the one kind of people is coming. Second is my food processing and small retail store, and that is a 30.3% of our microcredit borrower. So if you see that the food processing and retail, the small shop is in very much demand is now in a rural market. And agriculture, like if you see that the vegetable sellers and door-to-door sale, many people are not going to market, and they have the opportunities. They can be take a one van rickshaw and pulling it to the door-to-door. That is a very good business. So this type of people are coming now with a 20,000 or 25,000 rupees loan to start their business or business running on that. So that type of new customer is coming. Very few, not very big amount.
Okay. And sir, just another question. What percentage of borrowers would not have paid anything so far, let's say in the last 3 months or during the moratorium?
Are you asking what percentage?
So that will be close to 30%. That number can change plus or minus 2%, but it will be around that range. We are talking about June end number.
So, but your collection efficiency is in excess of 70, right? So that should not be the case, right?
No, June was 68, and our number of customers who paid in June was also 67, 68.
But as per your question, if I like to see that, actually we are not in that much data, not analysis, but what I learned from my field people is interaction, who are started to come, they are not dropped yet. Very accidental one to get. Who have received the loan, they are not yet dropped any installment as of now. Because now is a very, very one-to-one case that people, our staff are observing and following it. No, so that it is increasing day by day on that. So that is, we are trying on that, how we can make them as they behave to come with a regular one installment minimum. So when they are coming one installment, they are automatically on that, coming on that the next, and the hope have been increased on that. So this is a behavior also, this type of borrower.
Okay. So basically around 30% customers have not paid anything in the last 3 months. That is the conclusion so far.
1 month, because April and May was...
Totally we are not going to collect. So they are not...
Okay. Fair. And just a last question. You've given your collection efficiency as of 3rd of July. Would you have a latest figure? Let's say 14th or like yesterday, as of yesterday?
So the latest number, which is about 3 days back, was around 73%.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Thanks a lot and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nitin Agarwal from Motilal Oswal Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, good evening.
Yeah. So I have two questions. Firstly, like while our moving steadily, we are now moving closer to the pre-COVID levels. How has the rejection rate trended over the recent months? Are you seeing more instances of over-leveraging and MFI borrowers from other lenders trying to borrow from us? I know that you have shared the data point that we are not lending to our existing borrowers much, but from other MFIs, are we seeing those applications coming?
See, at least in our core geography, right, we are any which way a primary lender to the customer. Right, there have been instances where they have taken an additional loan from the other institutions because earlier we had the policy of only one loan per customer. Right, so whether we call them as customers who are coming from other lenders or the better way to say it is consolidation of debt, where we are now telling them that we will give, we'll meet all of your requirements. Why don't you bank exclusively with us?
Mm-hmm. Okay. And about the rejection rate, how has that been like in the recent months?
So, clearly, the new customer acquisition has slowed down, as I had mentioned earlier. And as far as the existing customer goes, there we have the track record of almost 5 to 6 years to understand that customer. So the rejection rate is more to do with the new customer acquisition. The existing customers has been tracked on a weekly basis on the behavior and credit culture. And the decision whether we will extend fresh loan or not is taken during the tenure of the first loan itself, as we see the behavior of those customers.
Okay. And secondly, on this MFI collection efficiency, which is 73%, you just said, and but has the income levels of these customers also moved back to their pre-COVID levels? Because that will only point towards the durability of this improvement.
There is one point we will be like to mention here. This is a customer segment which they are only earning source is that business. And because of that, only the business or two businesses their earning source. And that business anyhow they are trying to run it. And the relationship with the bank they are trying to best way. So I hope that has been helped us on that to get return back the installment. And they are also very happy to return back, and then when they have a need the money, they will be getting. So that is the main basic the principle have been worked in this microcredit sector.
And the income levels to calculate in 1 month after the lockdown, I think it's too early. We would rather wait for some more time to have a better understanding on the income level.
Okay.
But slowly when we are disbursing new loans, we are assessing the customers on the income and the obligations.
Okay. And our NBFC MFI portfolio has reported 100% collections for the month of June. So does it imply that their collection efficiency has already recovered back to normal levels and is probably trending higher than us also?
So there are two things, as the government announced the relief or the package for the NBFC, through the refinance opportunities from NABARD, SIDBI and those institutions. There has been some improvement on the liquidity side, and so that's one reason why the collection efficiencies have improved. And two, the customers where we have gone with the TLTRO option, so the underlying condition was that they have to start repayment if they need the fresh TLTRO. These are the two reasons why we see the collection efficiency going back to 100% on the NBFC side.
Okay. And lastly, Sunil, any impact of this Bihar lockdown that you see on the collection efficiency again? This thing has again come up.
Bihar, you're talking about Bihar lockdown?
Yeah, which is just announced like
So I think it's not implemented or about to be implemented. So we'll have to wait and see. Otherwise, Bihar was one of the best performing states for us, right there on the top.
Yeah, because now it can again impact the center meetings as such. So,
yes, clearly. Lockdown impacts the center meetings and collection efficiency. More than the red, green, yellow and the infection, it's the lockdown which is the single largest factor.
But this time, any states have been not started to total state lockdown. They are going to some pocket, and Bihar has been little bit have been affected as a flood. In Nepal, water have been locked in the Bihar. That have been little bit in a disturb as of my knowledge.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anand Dama from Emkay Global. Please go ahead. Mr. Anand Dama, your line is in talk mode. Kindly go ahead with your question.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Sir, your audio is too low. Can you speak closer to the answer, please?
Yeah, sure. So basically, when you say that the collection efficiency is 70% or so, do you mean that whatever EMIs which were due in the month of June, the 4 EMIs or 5 EMIs, all have been paid by the customers? Or there could be a case where a customer would have just paid about 3 EMIs due or 2 EMIs due?
No, we are talking about for the month June, right? So only June installment due we are considering. Because for April and May, customers were in moratorium, so that due itself has been postponed to the end of the tenure.
Yeah, that is fine. But say for instance a customer where you would not have been able to reach in the first week of June or the second week of June, in that case, how have you recovered the first week or the second week kind of EMI? Have you recovered that in the third and fourth week collectively?
So there are two things here, right? One is whether the customer is paying more than one installment. Yes, few customers are paying more than one installment. But let's say we started the collection from the first week of June, 1st of June. So it started with a 10 to 15% collection efficiency, increasing it to 70%, right? So as the days went by, the customers started increasing in terms of started paying collection. So those customers, let's say a customer who started paying from 16 and didn't pay the first 2 installments, so those customers are considered as moratorium for the first 2 installments, and that installment will fall due at the end of the tenure.
Okay.
So once they start installment, then it becomes the starting point.
Okay. Sure. And so customers who have paid and customers who have not paid, what is the reason? So the customers who have not paid the EMIs and have taken moratorium till date, is it because you have not been able to reach the customer or customer has not been able to reach you? Or is it that the customer has a genuine business disruption and because of which they have not paid?
See, typically the activity started only in the month of June, right? Whether we call it collection activities from the bank side or business activities from the customer side. And our interaction with the customer is it typically takes 4 to 6 weeks for the customers to start repayment after they start their activity. So these customers who are paying in June are those customers whose business never got impacted during COVID, those agri-allied and the small retail, grocery shop kind of business, food processing and retail.
Right.
So these are the customers who have first come up in the month of June. And as days go by in July and August, the customers who started their activity in June will start paying.
Okay. So then in that case, what is a broad assessment? You will reach more than 90% kind of a collection in the month of September is what you were indicating, right, earlier on?
Yes, correct. Very strongly.
Okay. Yeah, sure. And sir, question to Token sir. So in the mortgages, we have mentioned in the presentation that we had a lot of new customers onboarding happening in this quarter. So how has this happened, particularly in this quarter where there was a lockdown?
So this is for the month of June.
This is for the month of June. Yeah, but then even in the month of June, how have you got these customers? Like, are these customers who have walked in, or basically these are the balance transfers which have happened because of these are new customers to you, or you have gone and sourced these customers from the ground?
Mr. Choksi, I think he'll be the better person to answer this.
Yes.
Our disbursements during the month as well as during the quarter primarily have been in respect of the partly disbursed loans. So they are the customers who had taken a loan and they had taken a part of the disbursement. Besides that, there have been new customers also who have walked in the month of June, and to them also we have given the disbursements to them. There could be part of these customers could be a transfer or from the other lenders as well.
Mm-hmm. Because you have mentioned somewhere that the disbursement basically to the new customers is more than 50%. So is really the proportion so big for the new customers?
Yes, that is 50%.
Yeah, that 50% is of that 250 crore disbursement that we are talking about, excluding the IBPC purchase.
Okay. Great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Take the next question from the line of Karthik Chellappa from Bruna Vista Fund Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity again, sir. Just one follow-up. In the last quarter, I had a data point as follows, that 50% of the borrowers roughly were unique to Bandhan, and Bandhan plus one more MFI was 80%, and Bandhan plus two MFI was 94%. So of the balance 44%, where there is Bandhan plus one or two MFI, based on your feedback from the field, how would your collection ratio compare to that of the other lenders?
We cannot comment to the other lenders.
We will not be in a position to know also, right? We may have some market intelligence, but we cannot, talk about that. We don't have any official numbers.
But at least qualitatively, is there any significant difference? Well, the angle that I'm coming from is, if it is different, then basically your collection ratio is much better than the peer group, right? So at least qualitatively, is there any color or?
Historically, if you see, we have always done better than the other players in the industry, including what we saw in Assam, as recent as Assam. So historically, yes, we've always done it.
Okay, because if your target is...
But only point of that is a customer behavioral thing. Only change the everything, collection, disbursement, success, how the employee are behave with the customer. So that is only the differ to one-to-one. Other are more or less in the same.
Okay, because the angle I was coming from is, if you are confident that over a period of time you will be able to expand the proportion of customers who deal only with you, then by definition your peer lender must have a lower collection efficiency, right? If they have the same efficiency, then because then they can also disperse the loan.
So I'm not getting that.
I think we will give it a pass on this.
The excuse to me to say others about it, and because every organization have been their own policy, own strategy, own culture and values. Not the thing will be like to comparable.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraint, that was the last question. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Sunil Samdani for closing comments.
So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking this time out. Really appreciate it. Thank you.